Hey everybody, sorry to be so late with the Set 11 previews. Thanks to Joey DiCarlo for letting me have at this one to be able to go ahead and bring it all to you guys. Let's go ahead and talk then about one of the very last, if not the last Set 11 spoiler. I start my little story out based on a conversation we've been having sort of off and on with everybody over the last few years in our local playgroup. We all noticed a thing, mostly James. You guys have seen James on the channel. James was the first one to point it out, and then I was like, nah, you're making that up. That Orange primarily has stage buffs for all the damage, stage damage buffs on all the cards that it has damage buffs on. Virtually none, we're talking so few out of all the many Orange drills, have actually a life card buff on them. Now, of course, there are a few that do. No one's going to, like we said, I'm not going to leave anybody hanging here not talking about like cards like Orange Assistance to add +1 life card. But remember, that's only for attacks done by your allies. Nothing to sneeze at if you got an excellent ally deck like an Orange Ginyu from forever ago. That's really neat. It's nice to have more damage buffs. But here's the thing, though. Basically, if you didn't have a non-styled method of increasing life card damage, like a personality power, the old Adaptive Mastery, Aura Drill, you just don't get life card bonuses in Orange very often. Now, to wax nostalgic for a little while, there were quite a few cards in Scorzy that did increase life card damage. It was actually kind of crazy. If anybody has time to look those up, if you got one of those sites that sorts them, or you guys can take a look at the master list created by TJ Henderson in the Retro DBZ book, you can start to see how many cards in Orange and other ones were like drills and things that added life card bonuses. You had plenty of choices inside the Scorzy card pool. If you guys lived back then and played DBZ in the early 2000s, you knew about how big attacks could get if they were playing an Orange ally drill deck with all the shields and all the damage buffs. They could just breathe on you, just die. Now, about what's going on today. Now, like we said, lots of things like allies and drills and can buff up one's damage in other ways. I'm looking at you, Birder and Goldo. But it was really for very good reason that Panini Z, chose to create no more drills for the very longest time other than Aura Drill that actually added just straight life card damage. So the idea was Orange manipulates drills too readily, too easily. Because they do, you end up with a possibility of them being doubled up, and then of course things getting unfair. Just to give you an idea, lots and lots of Orange style attacks have 4 life card damage as their base output. If you think about it, if something adds 1, you're getting into critical damage. If something adds 2, it's fairly consistent to be able to get critical damage off, most scenarios. So they basically couldn't afford to, and kind of, if you look at it that way, didn't really need to add any more damage buffs. In the old days, of course, it was just Orange Adaptive to add a life card bonus anyway. So it makes sense. There was just simply too much of an ability to manipulate them to have more than one. So time has passed, however. There is now a drill that adds damage, and an effect you didn't even know you wanted. See, now the life card damage boost is awesome. I would get it just for that because of my one of my deck ideas. Now, if I was to add in an instant effect that lets you shut off prevention for 1 attack per combat, so this is incredibly useful. Think about it. You need to do critical damage right now. You need that Dragon Ball. You need that ally dead. You need to lower their anger at a critical moment where you realize you might not be able to depend on your normal damage output to do it, with their endurance. Or got a wall breaker that's making your life difficult. Guess what? You have the power in your hands, in your life card boosting drill to synergize with each other, the ability to add damage and make sure they can't prevent it in the single card. Oh, I'm so happy to have this. Because we're not all villains. We can't all have Sagacious Strike and other means to get rid of things, to get critical damage out there. So there you go. I adore this card. It fits perfectly into my Orange Energy Android 18 deck. It compensates, it enhances her abilities because it adds a life card damage to some of her more minuscule energy attacks. It slots in, it compensates for, like we said, getting basically people wall breaking me and getting stuck on a lower level. It's like, no, guess what? I'm going to summon this drill out and I'm going to go ahead and grab, this drill and then knock that right off of me. It grants me critical damage when I need it most. This is an excellent card and met a need in the game that we didn't even know that we had. Hats off to you, development team. Thanks for the card.